A major federal testing site in Texas set to close tomorrow, even though coronavirus cases there are still surging. NBC News reporter Priscilla Thompson is at that site in Enberg, Texas. Priscilla, there were long lines of cars there today. I mean, clearly there is still a need. So why is this site closing?
Allison, thousands of people came through to get tested today, and this site was actually supposed to close on Tuesday, but was extended through the end of the week, through Friday, because of the need here. But one thing about these massive testing sites, the idea behind them is that they do come into communities where there is a surge in cases. They test as many people as possible for a week, or in this case, a week and a half, and then they leave. But what it does is that it gives the officials here an idea of the community spread, and they're able to then focus on containment and the idea of making sure that the virus doesn't, blow up again, but that they can begin to bring that curve down. And, I actually spoke with the administrator who has been running this site day in and day out for the past week and a half, and he tells me that they've done more than 20,000 tests here, but that the need is very urgent here, and it's very important, particularly for this community. Take a listen to what he said.
I think that there needs to be continuation of testing. There's over 1.5 million people here in the Rio Grande Valley, which and not to mention the fact that we also are bordering another country, so there's probably in excess of 3 million across the border. That has a significant impact on the COVID-19 issues that we have going on. So continued testing is paramount in order to keep on identifying statistically where we sit and what we need to do as far as measures for the future.
Yeah. And the site has been closing at around noon since Tuesday. And I can tell you, in the few hours that we've been here since it closed, at least a half dozen people have come up hoping to be tested, only to have to turn around, some of them coming from quite far away to be tested. And so, I think that does give a sense of the need here. And hopefully those folks are able to get an appointment tomorrow to be tested before the site closes for good.
Priscilla, forgive me. I lost my FB for a moment, so I'm going to ask you the next question and get it dialed back in. What is the county's plan once this site opens? What kind of testing options do you anticipate will be available then for folks there who are still clearly in need of getting tested?
Well, a very important question there, Allison. So the county and the state and local officials here do typically stand up around 4 additional sites per day, but those sites only do 300 to 500 tests per day. And so that is not nearly the thousands that we were seeing happening at this mass testing site. And so I actually just spoke with the county judge, who tells me that they're in the process of finalizing a contract with the university here that's going to help them to beef up some of that testing. But it's important to remember here that while testing is a big concern, it isn't the only concern. Texas has been reporting record numbers of hospitalizations and death, and that impact is certainly being felt here. Take a listen to how the county judge described the situation to me.
I have never been in the combat zone when you have large number of people, of bodies. But golly, when funeral homes are telling me that they can handle 7 bodies, fairly easy, but they're having to deal with 18 or 25. Yes, that is a scary thing, and that's why we must find a solution to this problem.
And so in addition to sort of managing all these other things, the county judge tells me that he is really emphasizing prevention here, particularly in this community. It is a predominantly Latino community. He says there are a lot of folks who live in multi-generational homes where if someone comes home with the virus, it can spread pretty quickly. So he's really trying to promote the idea of the washing of the hands, the wearing of the mask, and sort of staying away from those large gatherings in order to contain the virus here in the valley. Allison?
Priscilla, I want to ask you about the governor. A lot of people have been wondering if he might shut down the state again. Here's what he said.
People are panicking, thinking I'm about to shut down Texas again. The answer is no, that is not the goal. I've been abundantly clear. All we need is for people to wear masks. If everyone wears a mask, nothing will be locked down.
So how are local officials reacting to that? Is that the news they want to hear?
Certainly not the news that they want to hear, Allison. Local officials across the state have been calling for the governor to grant them the power to issue some sort of stay-at-home orders in their jurisdictions for weeks now, but that has not happened. And I want to point out that Governor Abbott made that statement that you just played hours after the state released a new daily record in terms of deaths and positive cases on yesterday. And so, you know, the doctors that I've spoken to have said that I think the next week is really going to be crucial in terms of what happens next here. You know, we saw the governor shut down bars about 3 weeks ago. He required that mandatory mask order 2 weeks ago. And that's around the time that doctors say we should begin to see the impacts of mitigation efforts. So this next week, if those numbers don't begin to come down, I think that the governor is going to have some decisions to make here, Allison.
Yeah, it sounds like he might. Priscilla Thompson in Texas, thank you so much. Starting tonight, if you're out in public in Alabama, you will need to wear a mask. The governor's mask order in effect until at least July 31st. NBC News Now reporter Dasha Burns is in Montgomery. And Dasha, what are folks there saying about this mask mandate? Do they support it?
Hey, Allison. Well, as you know, the mask debate has become pretty political across the country. And here in Alabama, that certainly is also the case. But I have noticed over the last 3 days that I've been here that there's a pretty big difference in that debate, depending on who you talk to. In the political sphere, you've had the governor come out and order masks, but she was pretty hesitant to do that until yesterday when she said the data was just heading in the wrong direction. Then the lieutenant governor came out against the order, saying that it infringes on business owners' property rights and on individual rights to determine their own health decisions. But when I've been talking to other people in the community, to the residents, to the doctors, the conversation is pretty different, Allison. Doctors, of course, are desperate for people to wear masks. They're very frustrated at the fact that this has become political. Yesterday, I was at a hospital where there are no ICU beds available, and the people there told me that masks are critical to keeping hospitals from becoming overwhelmed. And today I've been walking around the streets of downtown Montgomery talking to people. And Allison, every single person that I talked to today, now this is just anecdotal evidence, but everyone today that I have spoken with actually agrees with the order. Take a listen to some of what I've heard today.
I'm thrilled about it. I've been wanting her to do it for a while. My husband is in a high-risk category, and so it's super important personally, but I feel to turn this progression of escalation of the virus around, we've got to do the mask.
The government tells you what kind of light bulbs you can have in your house. They tell you what kind of toilet you can have in your house. Your cell phone can track everywhere you are, what you buy and what you do. Why is protecting other people and stopping deaths overstepping?
And Allison, some of the people I spoke to, like what you heard there, were concerned about the rise in COVID cases here. Others said they weren't very worried about getting COVID themselves. They weren't too concerned about the virus, but they said that they were willing to wear masks out of respect for others. Allison?
Dasha, those ladies had some very good points there. The government can tell us what kind of light bulbs to use. Maybe masks aren't such a terrible thing to have them encourage us to use as well. Dasha, how does Alabama plan to enforce this order? How are they going to get people to go along with it for those folks who don't think it's a good idea?
Yeah, well, there are a couple answers to that question, Allison. Technically, there is the penalty of a $500 fine and potential jail time for those who don't comply with the order. But the governor said that that will not actually be enforced. She emphasized personal responsibility that is on everyone to do their part. They don't want to get punitive when it comes to this. And most police departments are saying they're not going to arrest anybody, but they are going to gently remind people why masks are important. They're taking that education first approach. And there are several counties in Alabama that have already had local mask mandates in place. We were in Birmingham just a couple of days ago, which is Jefferson County, where there is a mask mandate. We're actually we're at a polling place during the runoff on Tuesday for that the Jeff Sessions versus Tommy Tuberville runoff. And there, Tuberville voters actually said that they wore their masks inside of the polling place, where Tommy Tuberville has actually come out saying that he doesn't think the mask mandate is a good idea. And nonetheless, we saw people even there wearing their masks. So as we've been around the state over the last few days, we have seen a lot of compliance. And again, for a lot of people who aren't concerned about the virus, they do say it's about other people and they want to try and do the right thing. Allison.
Dasha Burns setting a good example herself, wearing her mask, doing the right thing. Thank you so much.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.